Now? Couldn't you have gone before we left?
Sunday has been so weird for the HGC, but man, has it been enjoyable. Expert and Dignitas are getting ready for game number 2, and who's ahead? Expert with a 1-0 lead.
I'm absolutely loving it. I think for an esports fan in Heroes of the Storm, this is like the best time to be alive, just watching this scene on the first season of HGC really unfold in front of you with all those weird things that we currently have happening. It couldn't be any better. It's a lot of fun to watch how we have all these storylines unfolding. Everybody trying to get out of the bottom 2 spots. We're having Trick trying to finally come back and saying, like, guys, we are better than this. Playing Ducks, making big plays. Expert desperately trying to push into those top 3. It's awesome.
Well, let's find out where we're going for game number 2. We'll see if Expert can push through the entire series and take a victory over Dignitas. Now, let's see. The battleground that we were going to, the first time today is Dragonshire. Expert has elected to pick it up.
My favorite battleground.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Makes me stumble over my own words every time I see it.
No, I'm so excited.
I really enjoy the games there. We had some fantastic games in Heroes of the Dome as well. Like one of the most exciting games like has a long time happened there. And I love it because it demands so much from teams. You have to have perfect coordination. Globals play a huge role here, but just those team fights and late game Dragonites that you can go for is amazing. You really need to establish yourself on the battleground if you want to win the objective and win the game.
And one of those heroes that does it very well is actually Zul. Zul was popularized by Expert in the first couple of weeks of the HGC. In fact, they popularized it so much in the week 3, 4, and 5, we started seeing other teams pick it up in combination with Nazebo. We haven't seen Dragonshire, I think, this entire weekend, actually. So now we get the opportunity to maybe see that oddness pulled back in. Dignitas will ban out Tassadar.
The Tassadar banned out right away. I personally have to admit that Zul, even though he's strong on the map, would still surprise me a bit. But we have again this false stat ban. This seems to be really one of the things where they are just saying we do not want to deal with the hero. Of course, there comes an extra aspect to it when we're talking about Dragonshire, because as mentioned, the globals play a huge role here. But it just is quite telling, I feel, that they banned him out on the last map as well, even though he usually doesn't get quite the same value. And now here too, allowing the Dehaka to go over to Dignitas.
What if it's such a high-level play that Expert is banning out Falsehead constantly, and one game they won't ban it out, and Dignitas will think it's banned out, and then they'll steal it? That's high level right there.
They think he's banned out, they're not looking at
They just forget about him as a hero in the roster. That would be high level.
Okay. You call it high level, I would call it pretty stupid. It might happen, like, I don't know. It happened actually before. It happened before that at some point, like after a draft, I couldn't understand why a team didn't pick up a hero.
Yeah.
And so I talked to them afterwards, and I was just like, guys, what happened? And they're like, dude, you're not going to believe it. We just forgot that he's there.
Yeah,
so
it happens, man. There's a lot of heroes in the roster. You can forget those
And
kind
that
of
happened too, by the way.
Okay, all right. This just got awkward. Okay, Greymane Sonya on the right side for Team Expert. Dignitas responds back with Dehaka Abathur on Dragonshire. Granted, there is a possibility here that they want to take away the Greymane and not have to ban it out, but still, Lucio as a third slot up. This is...
I just want to see an Abathur-headed Lucio now, just for the lols. Just for the lols.
It's almost as good as a stem drone Lucio. Oh my gosh, that is something right there.
The best time was when Muradin on his auto attack still on the avatar still had the mini stun, and you could go for stem drone Muradin. You just locked them down the entire time. And they were just all stunned locked. That was pretty fun.
That was pretty painful, man. So Jaina will be the ban out here for Team Expert. So they want to get rid of some kind of wave clear options available for Dignitas. Jaina is one of those that can come in the mix. Let's find out what Dignitas is going to be taking away from Expert.
Yeah, but Abathur at this point, of course, they still need someone for the copy. Greymane is already gone, so they need to decide which copy target they want to go for. But Abathur himself can play a big role here. He's another global that you have at your disposal. Of course, you are risking yourself a little bit more using him. But with Expert banning out the false start, there's also no real risk for Dignitas involved at this point. So right now, it's very tricky for a potential counter pick here. And you are going to... I'm personally asking myself right now, was that the plan of Expert to pick that Abathur? Because they went into Greymane very early, so that would have been a great copy. They banned out the false stat. That usually screams already that at least he's on the table. And Dignitas reacts immediately is like, nope, that's not going to happen. We actually like him ourselves. Give the little slugger over.
So if you're Expert right now, you're thinking, I want some kind of engage for two reasons. One, because they have Abathur. You want to be able to force fights before Hats can be effective. And then two, you want to get on top of that Lucio. Already, we've seen it before. If you get some kind of lockdown like a Judgment, Butcher engage, Variant is probably one of the most standard meta ones. You get those engages, you can force fights, especially with Sonya and Greymane, because those two put up a lot of damage up front.
Yeah, and there's always that curveball that we're waiting for. But the Arthur's Malfurion, very standard at this point.
Yeah.
And that's a strong setup that they have here. If you're going Sonya, Arthur's, an immediate reaction, not even waiting for anything else. Suljin coming into play once more.
Mane has played Zul'jin once in this tournament. It was on Brex's holdout, and it was really stellar auto attack build play Zul'jin. So I'm actually very excited for this.
Yeah.
So you have Abathur Hat with the auto attack speed at level 4. You can really buff out the Zul'jin player and just make him go absolutely crazy in the late game. Now, Expert thinking about what they would like on the fifth side.
A little bit of wave clear here available as well with the Johanna. The Dehaka for the solo lane can always rotate in. Abathur can take over on lanes, help out with the symbiote. It's an interesting setup that they have here. I kind of like that. Expert, on the other hand, has still a very solid roster themselves with Arthur, Sonya, and then the Greymane for the jump-in to finish heroes off. Are we going to see a mage for them now for that backline, or how do they run it? With Expert, you never know what you're going to get. There's a Li Ming that you could... Nope, they go for the extra shields. Very tanky, very heavy setup.
Expert overall playing, I guess, what you would consider standard in Europe compared to their normal selves, but hey, it's working out for them here. So Zarya is great in the mix. One, Zarya is awesome when Tazzingo gets popped. You walk away, save a grenade, and you just time it out for the last second. And if there's not an important heal available from your teammates, the Lucio here is going to have really good shield barriers or such, the Tazzingo just dies.
They have a very sustainable setup now. So they have with Sonya self-sustain, the shields are going to come in, the heals from Malfurion. There's a lot in team fights to be said for Expert's lineup.
There certainly is. And do you go Wrath here or do you go Leap? You just jump on top of that Lucio.
I would definitely go for Wrath. I would be surprised if they go Leap. I mean, if they had any kind of additional follow-up, I would say it's an option to go Leap. We had a couple of scenarios where Leap was being played, but normally you still go for Wrath. So with the setup that they have here, Leap would surprise me a little bit, but again, it's Expert, so we have seen them pull off crazy stuff, and that might be something that they consider.
Yeah, there is a Howling Bust follow-up, there is a Malfurion, and there is also explosions if you get them locked down right before you walk into a tower. I'm more curious about how Abathur is going to work here, and Abathur is going to have to be really on point with his positioning, and usually with an Abathur player, you're able to be a little bit forward and pushing down keeps and forts and such. It's much harder to pull off on Dragon Share. One, in the top and the middle of the area of the battleground, there's actually really good flanks that can happen. You can go there, you can actually dive those back forwards and actually get those kills.
Yeah, Abathur, on the other hand, if you're having a team fight in the middle, for example, when we're going into the later stage of the game, can also just like burrow to the top or move in and grab one of these shrines, allow you to take the Dragonite there. That gives him some extra mobility and some added value in the late game on the map.
All right, well, game 2. Let's start it up. Experts currently leading 1-0 on Dragonshire. Let's go in.
Experts currently with the lead in the best of 5 series. They've been doing well on our first map to the Spider Queen. Let's find out if they can make it happen again on Dragonshire, where Snitch is playing the Abathur for Team Dignitas to the left side. Zelia is on the Dehaka, Mane on Suljin, as we already talked about. Bakery, of course, playing the support here with Lucio, and JB Hell on the Johanna.
Team Experts. On the right side, Kirsten will be playing Malfurion. We're going to be having the Bad Benny showing off his Arthas gameplay. ADRD on Zarya. Watch out for his Explosion Zones. Blade on Sonya. And Nick on Greymane.
Yeah, and with this, we immediately see most of these guys head straight into that mid lane. Currently, Dehaka orienting himself towards the top. Sonya is trying to join up to see if maybe there is a potential for an early pickoff. Nothing too outstanding when we look at the level 1 talents either. We have Sonya going for block here, as does Arthas, especially, of course, trying to counteract what Suljin is bringing to the table with the direct damage for Dignitas.
It's actually very interesting when you're playing against Suljin. You normally don't want to do two things. One, get in range so you can get the you want axe stacks, and then two, you don't want to get him low on health because you don't want to give him an attack speed bonus. So there's this weird dance constantly happening when you're playing against a Suljin, especially when he has a Lucio. Lucio is great for keeping you around 50% health.
We have a very strong foreman right now. This is one of the problems that you have with the Abathur. You don't really dominate the foreman rotation. This is a big problem. Abathur, of course, can help out with the symbiote, but at the same time, you're missing 1 hit point bar in the battle. So it's more 3 versus 4 in this scenario. You soak the experience in the mid lane, that really helps, but eventually the towers are going to be drained from ammunition, and that is something that Expert is going to look to exploit.
Poke here from ADRD, trying to build up some energy. Nick here as well. The Sonya versus Dehaka lane, this is actually a lane that Sonya can do well in. Surprisingly, you can clear out the wave pretty well. You can also get damage on Dehaka, and if Dehaka ever does get a trade with you, you just kind of heal out of it when you bring out that whirlwind. So drag has to be important. A really rough matchup for Dehaka. Yeah,
and if you guys are a little bit newer to Dragonshire and don't see that map too often, traditionally what you're trying to do here is establish a strong presence on the bot lane. You oftentimes see teams rotate between middle and bottom. The top lane is usually the solo lane. But one of the reasons why you have that strong presence bottom is because there's where the Siege Giants are going to move in, and you also have another camp. So camps are important, but this is going to be that setup with Xayah going in, getting the kill against Zarya. Well done. Sonya takes over the top lane in the meantime, but that kill gives one of the temples, one of the shrines over to Team Dignitas.
Yeah, Zarya falling victim to the gank of Xayah. Sonya's in the top lane, should be trying to push it in quickly to deny some experience. Bad Bunny's in the middle, and he actually did slow down the rotation there. He got a little bit on the aggressive side, which made Dignitas come in for a kill, which allowed Sonya to push in. Here's the thing, though. Remember when we saw Dahaka fall stud yesterday and there was some rotations constantly happening? That same principle is actually very similar here with Abathur.
Yes.
Abathur rotating the top here is able to deal with that top lane while Dahaka comes back.
I was just about to say the same thing. It's so important that Snitch does pay attention to what Xayah does because he needs to take over the lane experience. We saw Expert pushing in with Sonya, the top lane, and then Abathur just tunneling in, made sure that they didn't lose out on experience. So that switch with the globals is super important. I'm happy that you bring that up because it was awesome to see it on Braxis when they played it with the Dahaka fall set, and this is them applying the same principle to make sure they don't fall behind in XP.
Same principle, a little bit more subtle. Dignitas and Expert will be able to continue to fight over this Dragon Shrine. Already though, Johanna's floating around the middle, and Expert will take the opportunity here to grab mercenary camps. Typically, a Dragon, you're not going to sneak unless you get a kill or two. So Expert, knowing this, even though they had control of both shrines, went ahead and moved in for the Mercs. Now Bakery on the left side here is going to be jumped upon, instantly boosting away, coming back in for a couple bites of harass.
This is interesting now, because this is exactly what I talked about with the dominance of the bot lane. This is the pressure play that we are seeing here, and Expert has a couple of ways how to play it. They more or less give the Siege Giants up, and Sonya is actually taken out. So it's a bit unfortunate right now for Expert, because with the pressure at the bot lane, they could have taken the opportunity to move in at the bottom with 4, break through the wall, and try to push Dignitas back, make a bit of a play for that fountain so that Dignitas loses sustain on the lane. But instead they were aiming for a Dragonite and starting to rotate heroes into the middle. But with Sonya falling, it's now the exact opposite. It's all of a sudden Dignitas trying to go for the first objective.
Dignitas trying to. The Abathur hat helping out with JPL. They keep moving forward here. Arthas and Curson are doing their best to delay for now. Zarya and Greymane are on the bottom, trying to wrestle away the shrine, but Zul'jin's definitely putting up a big fight. Sonya finally makes it to the top lane and will stop this. Kudos to Bad Bunny and Curson. They delayed that for years, it felt like.
Yeah, and that last dodge was an important one. If Xayah gets that one dragon and gets the tongue connected, then it's a dead Arthur. So yeah, that was a good move on the side of Bad Bunny. Both of these teams are doing a fantastic job denying Dragonites to the opponent. But again, we have the situation changing. Now it's Expert once more on the move, but Xayah with the globals rotating to the top to make sure that Expert cannot sneak in a Dragonite.
Is it me or is Bad Bunny just playing very well this weekend?
Yeah, he's playing absolutely fantastic. I mean, Stitches, yes, it always looks awesome when you get those hooks, you have those flashy moments, but he's been putting in the work, and it really shows. But JPL at this point down here, that's a different story. Xayah actually not able to get the connect here. I think we saw a cleanse on the side of Malfurion, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out also to Curson here. That was an important one, because that would have been a kill.
Yep, big cleanse allows Sonya to grab the top. Sonya pushes it in. Abathur continues to soak up there. And oddly enough, Dignitas is actually ahead in experience here. 8.5 to 8.25 as that continues to climb. And they grab Mercenaries at the bottom so they can apply some pressure to Expert and make them play more reclusive.
One of the things that's also very annoying when you play against the Abathur, we saw that a bit earlier, is all these toxic nests, the mines that are being put between the lanes here. So that's definitely one of the things that is always a bit awkward.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward for the teams here. Hang on, I'm watching. What is Expert doing? They're grabbing Mercenaries in the bottom. So they're hoping to get some pressure and try and pull members down to the bottom, and maybe Sonya can get an engage on the top, or Arthas can get some more turret experience, so they need to close this gap of 10. If they don't close it soon, Dignitas will get 10 and make a big power play with that ultimate evolution.
It's very interesting to also see what JPL is doing with his build for Johanna now. Now, one of the talents that we often criticize is the level 7, because it only gives you 0.5 cooldown reduction, 0.5 seconds per hit. And since Johanna doesn't really have a very fast auto attack, that doesn't really accumulate to a whole lot. But he actually combines that with the extra damage on the punish on level 4. The dragon in the meantime being grabbed, but JPL definitely going a completely different way with his setup. Usually you are trying to have a more gauge-heavy setup with Conviction on level 7, and you're trying for the Laws of Hope on 4 for sustain. But he really trying to get more punishment out and getting the damage, and that was a good dodge also on the kick.
Grand Skin does pop out. Bad Benny was able to grab the Dragon in the middle while multiple members of Team Dignitas had to defend the bottom because there was a big Merc push coming in and Grayman was there to bolster it. So they had to give up positional advantage, which Bad Benny and crew took advantage of with their 5-man roster and moved in and grabbed the Dragon. So now we have pressure in the middle. So Team Experts takes that few seconds that I was talking about, mitigates it well, gets the Dragon out of it, and now can open up forts down here in the bottom.
And they haven't chosen the level 10 for Arthas yet, and there is a good chance that he goes for Syndragosa because they have a lot of nice silence, really well done. And that all of a sudden puts Dignitas on the back foot, but then as we see Bakery using his own ult, they are able to isolate Malfurion and take him down. But for a moment, it looked a bit scary.
Yep, Curson turning around, retreats, Snitch to the top here, but he's getting poked down here. That's the fake Snitch, by the way. The fake Dahaka. He's a real Snitch.
That's the real Snitch.
But that's the real Snitch right there. Bad Benny wants it. Oh, he doesn't get it.
Okay, that was a bit of a misplay. I can only assume that they didn't know where Abathur was before, so they must have been completely surprised by that and then didn't have an opportunity to capitalize on it. Now, on the other hand, Zelia needs to be very careful because Bad Benny is still giving him some trouble, but Baker is now starting to move in, and that could be a double kill even. Bad Benny is forced to use his ult, went for the army here, gets healed, but dies regardless, and that is now a double cooldown. Not only is he dead, but it's also the 70-second remaining cooldown on his Army of the Dead.
So pick up, Arthas has fallen, Mane is grabbing the Giants in the bottom left. It's important to keep control of these, as you mentioned earlier, with there being an Abathur on the field. Expert can make aggressive plays to grab those mercenaries. And for the most part, Dignitas has weathered the storm of the early to mid game on Dragonshire. Normally the problems that you have with Abathur have been nullified thanks to their solid rotations and great play.
Yeah, it's really an interesting dynamic that unfolds here right now, because first of all, Cursed Bullet, of course, gives us another blow-up comp on the side of Team Expert. They have a lot of sustain with that Zarya, but so far these fights haven't really been going their way. They didn't get a single kill yet, and they should have at least secured the kill against Abathur at the top. That slipped past them. That resulted in the end in Arthas dying, because without the Abathur there, Arthas would have lived. So that's a bit unfortunate for them, but still it's like 13 versus 13, still fine here on the two sides, but Dignitas is definitely the team that is currently making a bit of a better impression.
Yeah, that 13 will hit for Expert right when the shrines activate, so they should be fine. Mercenaries being traded as they're going to have Mercenaries on the top. Dahaka having those that bolster will help out a lot with his constant aggression against Sonya. Expert, meanwhile, while they do see the Mercenaries being grabbed, they're making a big play for JPL. They're running down the bottom, starting to burn him down. Bad Benny retreats in. The Iron Skin has been popped. Can they get the kill? The counter! Blessed Shield, and Mane comes up and starts bringing out the auto attacks.
Too aggressive, but here again, the silence coming in. They're trying to go for Zelia. He's very careful. Nick moves away, but Bad Benny is about to fall on the Arthas. Turns around, sacrifices himself here. And also, big shout out to JPL. He was so patient with his Iron Skin. He let himself chunk down to a half HP, move back, and just use it at the last moment so that he was 100% sure to escape to the safety of Lucio helping him with the added speed, and then the turnaround with a great gank, a good flank from the side. Dignitas getting another kill against Team Expert, and that makes it a 5-0.
Yeah, the patience was incredibly intelligent for him, just knowing that the lockdown wasn't going to come unless it was going to be an expulsion zone, or of course Arthur's Howling Blast. Zarya gets burned there by Mane and Bakery and JPL. Solid kill. That's going to be a shrine here in the bottom. The top one is being contested by Sonya, so it's going to be a need to play from Dignitas. Would love to see that Abathur hat and Zelia charging on in. Ooh, Blade missing out on the spear, unfortunately. It's going to make it a bit harder for him to hold this.
That extra attack speed on Soljin is crazy. Like, every time Soljin goes in with the symbiote, he is just chunking away hit points. And that was, again, happening to Zarya down there. So we had 3 heroes, and of course also the extra damage on punishment that we have thanks to Johanna picking the talent up on level 4. They do a whole lot of work with this, and it results in them having a level lead. But interestingly enough, we do not have a single fort taken out on the map yet.
Yeah, that's the next point. No fort being down. The next dragon will be great to actually finally start doing that. In terms of actual teams being able to burn down forts, if Zul'jin does get on one, he can cleave through it. That Q is incredibly powerful, but the same is true for Greymane. But most of the time, these teams are just waiting for their dragon so they can get that pressure where needed. Dahaka sitting in the middle as he realizes both tanks are currently chilling out there. Team Dignitas is going to work on grabbing some Giants, but with Expert positioning greatly in the bottom and 2 tanks being in the middle, they assume they need to come here and fight.
Expert is going to try and play around Dignitas now because they cannot approach them directly since level 16 is going to be there any second. Unless, of course, they get a kill here. That would be fantastic for them. Once more, the cleanse as ADRD was dragged for a second. Now, Giants are stolen away, and with the expulsion zone, nobody got trapped. That was a bit unlucky for Expert. and we have at least the shrines taken. So the idea really is to delay for enough time so that they can pick up the level 16 talent and then face Dignitas again. They won't be able to get a Dragonite here, but they're trying to prevent it from happening on the other side. Greymane in the meantime, sorry, Zul'jin in the meantime, has defended the bot lane against the camp that was taken. But let's find out if Dignitas can grab that DK with the advantage they have, or if Expert is going to stall it out.
The Hawk on the top. Stall is here. Nick is floating around. 16 so close. Expert doesn't want to fight this, but they might be forced to with Zelia coming in for the drag.
Yeah, once again, Zelia needs to be really careful here. He's about to be taken down. Burrows and moves away. His ult kicks in, and he's back to full health. But Blade is not so lucky. He's incredibly low here. They want to take him out. They don't have the 16 yet. They went too deep. And that's a problem that Expert now had a couple of times, that they take fights that are not very smart to take. They see a potential kill. They go in way too deep, and on the way back, they get eliminated. And the level 16 talent is such a power spike. It is really problematic for them to take these engagements.
The double Zul'jin have been massive in these fights. Every single time that we've had Snitch grab Zul'jin, they focus on Arthas, and Arthas milks, which is weird to say. That character is very hard to kill in most scenarios, but the double Zul'jin has been working out well. The camp is grabbed by Blade in the top left, so they'll get some pressure going on, but the Dragon pushing on the fort in the middle. ADRD comes in with the big explosion zone.
Yeah, and also, while we have this happening, look at that build that we are seeing for Johanna. Punishment damage on 4, the cooldown reduction on 7, and now in level 16 going for the Blast Hammer. We have JPL playing with a much more aggressive build than what we're usually seeing on the hero. Normally you use Johanna more as a disruption and as an engagement tool. This is not really happening here. This is a very different approach that JPL takes with it.
It makes sense when you think about it. Double Zul'jin shreds through anything, so if you have any added DPS in the mix as Johanna, you should be able to lock down a target.
I mean, the thing is, I know that the Blessed Hammer build in Diablo 3 is now a thing again, but I'm not quite sure if that's the practice that you should really aim for, Jay.
This is the future of the Johanna players, man. That swinging hammer. Speaking of Johanna, she's going to use Iron Skin to get away from this root that has hit Curse. And Sonya has made a bit of play on the top. Blade looking to maybe get some damage on that fort, but with the Dragon on the minimap moving in on her location, Blade will be forced to retreat.
I was waiting for the kick here. Blade was, of course, hoping to get a quick Dragon. That didn't happen. But now, looking at the situation in front of us, we have a 1.5 level lead, not quite, we're getting there. Lead for Dignitas and Experience. So they are aiming for an earlier level 20 right now where they can carry the momentum towards Expert. And for Dignitas, this game is of course incredibly important. They are currently down 1 map and they need to make sure that they are tying the series up now, or they will be down 2 games, which means they have to win 3 in a row, which is incredibly difficult, especially if you're up against a team that loves to throw the odd pick out there and loves to cheese a little bit. So far, they've been playing pretty standard, and it works out very well for them. Or they played out more common builds, I would say, than they did the last time we saw.
The good news for Dignitas is they're about to hit 20, which makes that late game even scarier, both with Abathur and, of course, Dahaka. Getting that Brush Stalker level 20 could be great for them. Also, Abathur having Hive Mind available for Johanna and Zul'jin will be absolutely insane to face off against if you're Expert. It'll be very difficult to clear against, especially when you're behind and you don't have your own level 20s.
Yeah, and also, since you are mentioning the actually the Abathur, Abathur is one of the reasons why the level 7 talent for Johanna is getting a bit more value, because normally the big criticism on Johanna is really that it's one of the few cooldown reduction talents on 7 that only gives you 0.5.
Oh, that's a good point.
If you have the added attack speed that you gain by having someone like an Abathur on your team, that gives you a bit more value in these situations.
Makes sense. Sounds like a really cool interaction between the two. I'll have to try that out in the future. JPL steps in, hitting the Condemn. Bad Bunny is on the right side. This is a 20-18 lead for Dignitas, so they are pushing it in, hoping to get some keep damage. Don't think they can get a full keep unless somebody makes a mistake like Bad Bunny there. The shield comes out, he gets focused down. The double Zul'jin chunking again.
Yes. When you think about this for a second, we not only have the heals there, we also have the entire time ADRD with the Zarya shield on him, and he still dies. So he has everything that he needs, the Icebound Fortitude, he drops also his ghouls, the ult, and he is still falling. This is a really, really unfortunate time to be an Arthas, I feel.
Yeah, poor guy just getting completely beat up. So U1 X has now completed it, and that makes it much harder to be Zarya and Arthas. That range gets increased here for Zul'jin, so he's able to chunk people from even further away. Watch out for that if you're a tank player. Sonya is going to hope to maybe grab the top shrine, slow it down, but you got to always keep wondering about that Zelia as he could brush talk in, and he just gets a dragon instead. Bottom lane in trouble because remember, Dignitas just opened it up.
Now, the one thing to point out here is that Dignitas is still forced to make some moves now. Because, yes, they have been dominating so far. They have 8 kills against 0, and they have the level 20. But they didn't translate that into any real kill damage yet. So this one has to fall, because soon enough, Expert will have their own level 20, and that will make them incredibly difficult to take down. There's a lot of heroes that scale very nicely into the late game. So right now, Dignitas wants to do as much damage as possible. Ideally, of course, end the game. The question is, can they really get there?
They're pushing for it. Moving in, JPL leading the charge. They're going to have the double Zul'jin. Zul'jin has a quarter left of his life here on the Ultimate Evolution. Blaze in the front line, just spinning to stay alive. Arthas goes for the counter engage. Big Howling Blast does connect. I'm watching Curson on the right side. Nick getting low on HP. Shield does come out, and Zelia and crew will need to walk away here as the Ultimate Evolution has expired.
Expert needs to be careful with this. If they follow too far, then there is a chance that Dignitas just simply turns around and takes the fight again with the level 20 lead. So now Expert just waiting for the experience. They lost the keep. They haven't lost that game yet. Once that we have 20 versus 20, this is an opportunity for Expert to finally take even fights. They should make sure that they're not losing any team member right now. It's so little experience that is still needed for them to grab up their Storm Talents.
And they're about to hit it. So 20 is going to be helpful here. You're going to get Sonya, who's going to be able to get that Ignore Pain, which will be so impactful when the fights. Being able to pop that and just get on that back line could be enough to maybe burn Zul'jin down. Gonna watch out for that. And then, of course, Zarya grabbing the unyielding shields here, so to be able to drop out massive shields in the fight. This is the moment for Team Expert to make a play. Also, Curson with the Bolt Twilight Dream. If you can get that before Lucio drops off the sound barrier, that's when he can win a team fight.
Exactly. The spike that has hit for Expert is really important now. And now the big question arises, has Dignitas so far done enough damage to compensate for the power spike that Expert is now reaching? So immediately after 20, Expert is being way more aggressive. They know they have to, they need to make some plays, and they also know that their team fight just got incredible, so much stronger. They have such great Storm talents in all of these heroes, survival talents for Arthas. Zarya can help out with that. The Bolt of the Storm Twilight Dream that you mentioned. This is a much scarier setup now when Dignitas is facing them.
And when Johanna goes in, the attack hitting here from Nick, that splash damage hitting on the back line, getting on that Zul'jin can be enough to make it a one team fight. So poke continues here for the team. Nick in the front is starting to poke here, bringing out that auto attack damage. JPL does drop the condemn on the Giants, hoping to pull them into the keep and allowing Mane to clear them out. Abathar, meanwhile, is pushing in the top lane, so Expert is forced to make something happen.
Yeah, Expert is well aware that they need to be careful here, because that top lane is eventually going to push for the keep, and this is what Abathar is currently trying to do here. So the play for the keep is happening, and the ADRD and his boys, are they going to go in for this? Once again, the root, this time against Zelia. Zelia immediately with the head of Abathar, but still that constant poke happening. The keep is still looking good, and the Siege Giants have been defended against. The wall at the top is slowly breaking. Abathar is going through that, but Expert is holding strong at the bottom. They want this keep.
Blade's Wrath about to expire. Zelia's dancing until it does finish up. Nick is on the left, playing with fire. And you're right, that keep in the right is in trouble for Abathar. Bad Bane's going to go for the engage as Zelia charges in. They're just trying to buy time, using Lucio to go in and out as they want Snitch to be effective. There's a big root on top of Zelia. He's popping his adaptation. Nick on the left.
Benny popped his ult already, so they need to do something. Most of the ghouls are gone, and that forces them back. But that was a big cooldown they burned, and they are taking damage at the keep to the top. So Dignitas is slowing them down here, and this keep is eventually gonna fall if they stay here. Snitch is allowed to be very far out and just pressure it down.
Giants have been grabbed for Team Expert. They realize that there is a big problem for them to deal with that Worm. It's just being way too effective. Curson guiding ADR and Bad Bunny.
They need to do something. They need to go for it right now. With them losing the keep, they have to finally admit that there is no other way for them but to go through the bot lane.
And the thing is, once that keep goes down, all Abathar has to do is drop the Ultimate Evolution, and they can be able to save this. Oh, big jump on top of Dahaka here. Gets on there on low core health. They'll finish off the burrow. JPL's on the right side. Bad Bunny leading in front. The Giants are shelling away.
They need to take that keep down. Losing the top keep definitely made them force the issue at the bot lane, and that's what they have to do right now, and they're looking for those opportunities. Zelia is still alive, and it was a close call the last time. A lot of cooldowns have been burned already on both sides. Here comes the drag, Cleanse comes out. Well done. Zelia is still there, has the symbiote. They're poking away at the keep, but it has still not fallen.
Oh man, Nick finally gets caught, and there's the kill. We're going to have a big engage here. Curse's Twilight Dream slightly too late. ADRD's helping out with the damage, but Mane is having a field day as he's going to pop his Tazdingo and start slaying.
You want X, you get X. He goes in, takes him down one after another. 2 kills, 3 kills, making it for the quad kill and the quintuple as we have Arthur's falling as well. Great job from Dignitas, a patient performance down to the bottom, playing the entire time with the global mobility of Abathur to the top. And that leads not only into 2 keeps eliminated, it leads into them going straight for the core. They don't care about that Dragon Knight. They have another 28 seconds before Greymane is back, and they aim straight for the win.
Zul'jin going to walk in here and drop down the Berserk, and yes, just burn it down. Should even have an Abathur slap in the mix. Here it comes, Snitch, bringing in the power of the Pajamather, and Dignitas is going to tie up the series against Expert with the 1-1. Great answer back.
Very good performance. Expert is losing game 2. Dignitas with the win, and this makes it a 1-1 in our best of 5.
I am hopeful that we get a best-of-5 series when we go to game number 5. Today has been a great day for HGC Europe. Dignitas with the patience there, really paying off for them. That's when Abathur becomes effective. If you at home have an Abathur on your team and you get to late game, don't be afraid to not fight. Let Abathur be effective and do what he does best.
Buying time, that's all that they needed to do, and they did enough. And Expert made the choice at some point and said, we are going to let the keep at the top lane fall. We have to make a stand down here. We cannot fall back against the Abathur and against the Dehaka and wait for the next Dragon Knight. We need to pressure now, or we're going to lose the game in the long run. And Dignitas did everything right. They didn't expose themselves. Nobody got taken off. Abathur got the value. And at some point, Expert was running out of time, felt forced, and then Dignitas saw one opportunity, took it, gets the kills, ends the game.
I was actually kind of curious that we didn't see Expert get a little bit more aggressive on that keep, just because they have tools to actually do it. They have the explosion zone, they have the roots on the right side, they have shields, they have cleanse available, they had cleanse too, so if Dahaka does walk up and drag, you're good to go. All they have to do is play around the Zul'jin and make sure that he's kind of at the back pace, and you can get that keep focused down.
It was really tricky for them. They could have maybe pushed in a little bit harder than that, but this was... It was a tricky spot. The level 20 gave them a spike, but they still felt quite a bit of respect. They didn't want to fight underneath the keep. So in this sense, now we have the series tied before we head into Game 3.
Well, speaking about Game 3, let's go ahead and get ready for it. We'll be back with Game number 3.
Oh, hi, new friend.